NVIDIA posted a job opening for the job title is like art director, gear and merchandise. It made me think about other companies that's been going hard on this for a while now, which is Palantir.
Mhm.
Everyone's favorite companies. They have really cool merch, at least for
Uh-huh.
me, at least for my taste.
Mhm, mhm.
And they went really big and they had a pop-up shop in Korea
That's right, I
a
saw
couple of
that.
months ago.
Mhm.
And I think this is really interesting. People wants to wear company swags from the company they like. People want to be part of a community. Again, this is in a way similar to how I wear baseball jerseys or Formula One merch,
Mhm.
if or any sports team, right? And it's kind of feel like, oh, if you know, you know, just that kind of vibe. And I think the best case scenario is, which is super rare, I think.
Mhm.
Imagine if you're a company merch and you can break through the pop culture stuff like
Mhm.
Hard Rock Cafe, tees, or if NASA's. You kind of wear them just because they're cool. That's it.
Mhm.
And it gets me thinking. Okay, if I want my company merch to be like that, what would you do? So I think there's a couple of requirements that has to be done to make your company merch be the cool merch. First, I think you have to have a strong and likable presence behind the brand. It's usually like a person. Like for Nvidia, we have like Jensen Huang and
I mean, when
Palantir.
are they gonna come out with leather jackets
I know,
that are
right?
like his?
I know, right? That's the thing. Will I buy it? I'm definitely gonna buy it. Alex Carp is basically a cult figure right now, and I'm not saying
Mhm.
this in a negative or positive way, but
No, no.
he is.
He is, yeah.
And on the other side, you won't see someone rocking a Salesforce merch
Yeah.
because nobody wants to be Mark Benioff. I'm sorry, Mark, but
Yeah.
that's kind of like the way thinking because you're not cool enough as a founder, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Agreed. I
it's cool
mean,
to have
back
a merch.
even a couple years ago, Elon Musk had that, right? Where it's like you had people that were, fanboys and fangirls. Like they still are, but they're not as like overt about it as they used to be, right? Like there used to be
Yes,
more like Elon Musk like merch. The fact that, his cars were able to sell as much as
exactly.
they did when they weren't actually coming out has a
Yeah.
huge thing to do with him and his persona. So
Yeah, and also I think SpaceX merch is kind of we're still more on the cool side, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I would say SpaceX for sure. I mean, they're building rockets and doing what
that is
has
true.
essentially
Yeah,
been impossible, right? Which is to have the rockets take off and then come back. Like that,
Mhm.
they were the first company to do that. So
Right.
that's amazing, right? They're literally rocket scientists. And I saw, this week that they're potentially going to do an IPO next year.
Andrew is one of the other
Hmm.
example. Palmer Lucky is so cool. I would love to have an Andrew merch.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Andrew, if you're watching this, send me a merch.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're putting
Yes,
out stuff, right? They've been
yeah,
putting out some merch, but they're also doing the that first like NASCAR race, like within right, like the military. So it's
exactly.
like they're
Yes,
building up this like persona for like the company, but then also Palmer, of course, that people want to follow and like be supportive of.
and I I mentioned a bit about how people want to be part of the cool community. This community doesn't even have to be people that actually use your product.
Yeah.
It can be like people who just YOLO their life savings
Hmm.
into your stock, like Palantir and
Hmm.
like GameStop, for example, a couple years
Yeah.
ago. So, um, so yeah, this is I think merch. I kind of see it as a walking billboard. And the lessons to be learned here, I feel like if you're a startup, small companies, don't half-ass it. Don't half-ass merch. Make it as cool as possible. Don't just make it like a T-shirt and your company name in front of it, which is ironic because I'm actually using it. I'm actually having like meme lord here, but we do have other merch. Like we have like a shorts that is like Windows XP wallpaper, and it went viral I think a couple of weeks ago.
Hmm.
And if Nvidia is hiring a specific person to make their merch cooler, then that means you probably need to put some effort on the merch. Something you need to take somewhat seriously if you really want to use this channel as a marketing. Especially, I think people will go out more and more next year. People will
Hmm.
touch grass more. Offline marketing, I feel like will be
Hmm.
bigger. That's my prediction for next year.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, I think so. And that's I think just go double down on merch. People like again, like kind of mentioned before, people like to talk about themselves, like,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's a good conversation starter.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
tossing in here, so I've been talking about Timothy Chalamet and the Marty Supreme
Love that
tour,
guy. Yeah.
and merch has been a huge part of that campaign, right? Of like the marketing, behind it. I just saw him show up at a um thing down in Brazil, and he showed up wearing a like Marty Supreme
Wow.
jacket that was in like Brazilian colors, right? With like the yellow and the blue and the green. And I thought that
Wow.
that was like amazing, right? Because at this point, he's basically come out with a new jacket for like each thing that he's, been in. So he had the original like navy blue with like the orange. He's come out with the bright pink one for the New York pop-up
Right.
situation that he had. He's had the followers and like the people like his superstar friends who have been wearing like the different, outfits. And then there were the four that were sold at the merch shop in New York. I think it was in LA yesterday. So like
Wow.
merch is a huge thing right now. If you make it unique enough. And I think that's part of what like you've been talking about here, where it's like so many like companies are just like you just pull it out as like, oh, we're going to a conference, let's bring like merch. And that's usually what you
Mhm.
just to like a t-shirt or like stickers, and like that's so played out right now. Like you need to be coming up with better, more interesting things that actually relate back to your
Yeah.
company and like your mission, your values and all that stuff, right? Some other examples here that have been like interesting that have been going, viral is like the Claude Anthropic like pop-up in New York, where they have
Yes.
like the thinking cap,
Yeah.
baseball hat. So those are things where it's like clearly there's a lot more thought going into it than just like
100%.
put our logo on a t-shirt, right? And I
Yeah.
think that that's like what makes it special, right? Some of my favorite merch is like the merch that employees get when they have been like at a company for a certain amount of time, right? So it's like
Oh,
they
yeah.
have their own versions of like what's sold out to like the rest of the to everybody else that only they can get because they were part of like something. So that's I've had examples here with like um someone from Snapchat that was like the first 300 employees, they got special merch
Interesting.
because it's like, you were part of like the core team early on. So for like bigger companies like that, we see that like every so often, right? There's like the old Microsoft, like jackets
Yeah.
that they used to have that like now are on sale in like thrift stores or like, because they're coming back because like the original OGs of like giving them away or like, sold
Yeah.
them or whatever. Basically marketing where it's like the people that know, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, that was like one of the OGs, like, merch from
Yes.
like back in the days, right? So I'm seeing like that stuff kind of like pop up. And then part of what I'm also seeing is a lot of nostalgia vibes coming into this as well, where it's like you have
Hmm.
things that used to be popular with like millennials and like rock bands like back in the day kind of are coming up again where like I'm starting to see like the old logos for like sports teams, right? Where it's like
Yes.
no longer these new um
Yes.
the newer logos that like have
Yeah.
kind of lost some of their spirit, but it's like you have the old like Dodgers, the old
Yep.
Lakers, the Chicago Bulls, right? Like when they were like
Mhm.
during like Michael Jordan's time, where people are interested in it because it's like the old school logos and like it kind of
Yeah.
brings that attention to it. But then it also reminds you that like, hey, this used to be a big team back in the day.
And also, like, I think also relate to the whole thing, like, if you know vibe,
Hmm.
because, like, if you were, like, I don't know, like, 90s, like, Utah Jazz,
Hmm.
like, training jacket, number 1 compliment for every man would like, "Hey, you know ball."
It's definitely like a way that like you can do that. So I see like, companies or teams dropping like special drops of like their merch that's only, available in like, certain markets, right? Like the a huge one that we're seeing here in LA is like Shohei merch, right? Where it's like you have Japanese lettering for like the Dodgers. Obviously, we've had like Los Doyers, right? They spell it with a
Yeah. Yeah.
Doyers, right? Where it's like for that Spanish speaking audience, right? So it's like they're creating these different like merches for the audiences that want that specific type of merch. So it shows two things there where it's like, hey, we know you, we know that you're fans, and we're listening to you and we're creating this merch specifically for you. But then it's
Mhm.
also giving people that may not know the language or but want to show that they're fans that like, hey, oh, I have the Shohei jersey, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like it's in Japanese. Or the I think his one for last year was the one with, the cherry blossoms, right?
Mm.
It's not even just the jersey anymore, but, like, the different types of jerseys within that, that kind of show how much more of a fan you are, right?
100%.
So
Yeah.
I think it's like really cool that you're like able to, give all those options to like your community and let them know that you're paying attention to them. Cause that's all,
Yeah.
people want to know is that like, hey, we're paying attention to you and we care. And it's not just the logo
Exactly.
slapped on or the team name slapped on and that's
Yeah.
it. It's like we're actually paying attention to you.
Ag-
So I like when I saw that ad for the job, I was like, wow, that's actually really cool that they're like giving more thought to it.
They have the cool factor now, and I definitely have to ride it before they become uncool. There are some merch that even though it's good, you will never wear it just because the company ain't cool. Like I will never wear a LinkedIn vintage
Yeah.
bomber jacket, for example. So
LinkedIn
yeah,
catching strays, but so true.
sorry, I love
So true.
LinkedIn. We got a lot of users there, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you for bringing that one.